Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Okay guys, we're going to be taking a look at the new dwarf Tholin on the test server here. So I don't have him yet on my main account, but I'm working towards it. He's probably the most sought after fusion in about 6 months. When I've seen polls, who's doing him, who's actively doing him, and obviously when I spoke about him before, he's actually been in the test server, like he seemed like his kit was going to be absolutely brilliant. For some reason, they were not leaking the image of this guy. And I was like, damn, are they going to be doing some sort of big event? Or is it going to be an actual dwarf from some sort of IP? Turns out that's not the reason. The reason, weirdly, was because of this. So the marketing guys were saving the visual for a marketing campaign. So actually, if you are a brand new player, like you've only been playing for less than 2 days, you get to use a promo code. And that promo code is generally a free champion or a bundle of goodies. On hellhades.com, we've got a promo code section, which has got all of these different options laid out. He's become one of them. So weird. It's really weird, honestly, that they've done it as a promo code for a new player. But damn, I guess it's pretty juicy. It's a pretty juicy one. Like Sun Wukong's an option. This guy's an option. There's also an option right now of Chimera. So gone are the days, I guess, like when I first started playing, where a promo code was 1 pot of energy and 50 silver. They're throwing void legendaries, new legendaries, and all sorts at us. So I guess, you know, we're going to take a look at him today and see if he would be worthy of the pick. But I think he'd be up there. I think, you know, based on his kit, I think he would be up there. So Tholin, Foulbeard. I'm on the test server. I do get a 5-star soul. I actually got a 6-star soul as well that I could put on him. But generally, we have the ability to try and gain the 5-star soul. They normally do something like a Titan event or some sort of system where you could gain a 5-star. So I figure testing with a 5 is good. Testing with a 6, well, we know what it's like, guys. The chance of us getting the 6 is very low in the game. So let's go through his kit first, and then we'll do a damage test. First one here, first ability is an AoE. So attacks all enemies, and before he attacks, this is important, before he attacks, has got a chance to place weaken for 2 turns. So 25% chance, books up to 50% chance. And then it grows if you're fighting either a boss or a minion of a boss or someone from the Corrupted Alliance. So this goes from 50 to 75 when booked of placing that weaken. If he manages to place weaken everywhere, he goes again. Where this is important is when the minions are actually cleared out and you're just fighting a boss. You've obviously got, especially if it's, you've obviously got a really high chance of placing weaken, especially if you go into sniper here, you get an extra 5% chance. But yeah, you can go up to 80% chance of placing weaken on a boss and basically getting an extra turn, which is pretty high, especially when you factor in his passive as well. He activates Demon Breaker every fifth turn this champion takes. So it's just a straightforward, I'm going to do another skill. Okay? Pretty mad, right? That you just keep like stacking up these abilities. So yeah, basically means that he's going to go a lot against bosses, especially if he's not a weak affinity. And it means that against bosses like Chimera, Clan Boss, it makes him a decent amount stronger than he looks on paper because he's just doing more stuff. He's just getting more turns than the average champ. Plus, you're putting weaken out means your whole team is doing 25% more damage. So I really love this A1. I think the A1's pretty damn nuts. But in waves, the chance of you actually placing weaken against the whole enemy wave anywhere, if there's like 5 or 4 champs, is actually pretty damn low. You think 75% chance, when you start to do the math of 75, times to 75 times 75, actually works out something like less than 1 in 2 type of chance of placing that weaken everywhere. So even if it's Corrupted Alliance. And also, if you're thinking about waves of enemies, the chances of them all being Corrupted Alliance is also kind of low. So you end up coming more like 50% chance for each one, which means you end up like something like a 1 in 5 chance of being able to do that. Probably worse than that, actually. So this is a cool skill. But yeah, the extra turn mechanic is mainly only going to factor, I think, against bosses, unless you're lucky. So the A2 is a double hitter, ignoring defense, ignores 25% defense. If the target's a boss, minion, or again, someone from Corrupted Alliance, you're going to ignore 50% defense, which makes this an absolute cannon of a hit. And then each hit decreases the target's attack by 5% up to 25. Do not underestimate how huge this is if you're a newer player on Clan Boss. The hardest thing on Clan Boss is it scales attack over and over again. I mean, the Demon Lord Clan Boss. It scales attack over time. So if you're reducing his attack, it means that you're going to go longer into the fight, and it means that you're going to be able to get yourself a lot more damage over the time period you've got. If you're a later game player, Clan Boss is solved. You don't care about it. But for someone who's newer, this is actually huge for Clan Boss. It's less important for something like Hydra or Chimera because, honestly, you're always fighting new enemies. Although it feels like you're fighting the same thing, you're not. The enemy changes, which means that you don't really get this stacking up as much. So, but the other side of it does stack up. So also increases his attack up to 50%. The longer a fight goes on. So this is where it is good against Hydra and Chimera. He's just going to do more damage over time. And by a lot, by the way. You've got a 50% stack of attack here. You've also got a self buff of attack here. It means that when you go long into a fight, his attack, let's say you got him to 10k, which would be impossible for almost all of us. But let's say for easy numbers, 10k. You're basically pushing him up to 15k with this stack. And then another 50% of that again, which is like 22.5k. So you're over doubling his attack. I think that's the way it scales. So over doubling his attack plus you're ignoring defense, this guy should hit like an absolute freight train when it comes to longer term fights. So that's really exciting as well. His A3 here, double hit, before he attacks, gives himself the buff. And then for each crit that he lands, increases the damage dealt on the second hit by 10%. So he should be crit capped if he's going to be a damage dealer, which means that you're going to be pushing him up to basically an additional, what's this in? So each crit that he lands increases the damage of the second hit. Yeah, so you get like a 40%, 50% multiplier of damage as well in waves on the second hit. Against boss, you're going to get an extra 10%. Still really, really solid. Ignoring unkillable and shields, mainly a PvP thing, but it's going to be strong in certain situations. So yeah, really, really decent kit. And as I said, we've got this passive going off as well. We've got increased attack in all battles, which is nice. So yeah, I think overall his kit is brilliant for waves and actually pretty damn juicy for bosses as well. Brilliant kit for progression, which is where, you know, that promo code thing comes in. You're like, damn, is he going to be better for progression than someone like a Wukong? I think maybe he is. Longer term, does he have as many niche roles to fill as a Wukong or a Tahanarak? Probably not. And that's the tricky thing. Short term, I think he's brilliant for a promo code. Longer term, Wukong probably comes back into his own. The other good thing here is for a promo code, he is not the same affinity as your starter champs, which means that he adds more value to your account as well. Same with Wukong, in fairness. So, yeah, I think he's actually up there as one of the better starter champs that you could pick up for a promo code. Now, in terms of blessing, I think for most PvE content, Nature's Wrath is going to be the way to go. He puts out debuffs with this A1, and obviously he's going to put out a decent amount of debuffs. Nature's Wrath gives you more damage based on debuffs that you place. So for a 5-star here, we're increasing our damage by 3% for every debuff up to 15. We're going to get to our 15 cap basically in one A1. So we're going to get 15% more damage away because of this. It's huge. Like somewhere like Hydra, it's huge. It's just going to be stacking damage with his other multipliers going off as well. So I think that's good. I think there's an argument to say you could just go for something like Soul Reap. If you go in PvP, you might go for something more like Life Harvest. I'm not sure really. Yeah, or maybe I guess the meta at the moment is more like Lightning Cage. But yeah, I think he could benefit from any of those. But ultimately, for standard content for me, I think I would go Nature's Wrath. I'm going to do a test of him at damage. So we've gone full damage masteries. We've got Helm Smasher to ignore more defense. Now, in terms of Relic, I don't have my Cat's Gaze on this test server. I've just chosen one which gives me good stats, honestly, which is Essence Quencher. For some reason, none of my relics cross over into the test server, so I'm not able to show stuff that I've actually got. But I think anything that's going to push his damage numbers is good, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, gearing is interesting on this guy. He's got AoE on his A1, he's got AoE on his A3, but then he ignores defense on his A2. Okay, so originally I was like, God, this is a perfect guy for Slayer. You know, so you're going to get a ignore more defense, but only for your AoE skills on a 6-piece. You're also going to get turn meter fill from your AoE attacks. And if you go 9-piece, which I probably wouldn't suggest, but if you go 9, you've got a chance for the AoEs to proc again. Maybe I would suggest it. It's tricky. Difficult thing with someone like a Tholin is you do need accuracy in his kit to land that weaken. If you're going to build him, no, you do need to land the weaken because then you've got a chance of your extra turn. So you either build him full damage, ignoring weaken, and bring someone else that's going to do the weaken for you. A lot of champions that we use, like Lydia, for example, decrease defense and weaken. It's already doing that job. So he's not going to get the benefit of extra turns if it's already out there, which means that you almost ignore that weaken's a thing, and then you just pump damage because he's not landing debuffs anywhere else. So you could just go full Slayer set, 9-piece, and ignore weaken completely. If you're trying to land your debuffs, it makes a lot more sense to go 6-piece something and then bring in, you know, some of the either feral gear or pinpoint to boost your accuracy in accessories, you know. So depends what sort of gearing you've got. But I definitely think Slayer is an option. Merciless is probably going to pip it though. So with Merciless, if you go to 6-piece, you've got the chance to reduce your cooldown and you've got more ignore defense going on. And the ignore defense is on all skills. So it actually doubles down on the ignore defense on the A2. You get more ignore defense going on, which means that you're getting very close to true damage on the A2. So yeah, pretty interesting. And obviously, if you don't have these gear sets, stuff like lethal is going to be really strong. Anything really where you get more ignore defense abilities, stuff like cruel, stuff like your savage, all of the normal type of ones. There's an argument to say relentless could be fun just to get more turn mechanics. The more time you get a 5th turn, you get an extra hit as well with your A1 or with his passive. So relentless just pushing more turns could be fun, and may even like there may even be some math there to say that this scales into a high damage set as well for him, which is interesting. And the other one, if you're brand new or early game, you will get, you know, perception gear. This will just allow you to land your debuffs more easily as well. So I think there's a lot of options with this guy, but I'm going to try, I think, and go big boy Slayer build and see what that looks like.
Get ready for raid, maximum damage.
Okay, it's time for maximum damage. This is not a build I would use for content. It's just a damage test build. So we've gone 6-piece Slayer, giving me 30% ignore defense. We have gone for massive attack, 8.3k with 372% crit damage. And we've got full damage masteries. I understand the game's changed a lot. The environment that I've damage tested in for the last 3 years is now relatively irrelevant for most people in the game, but it's still fun to do the same type of test, I think, just so we can see it with consistency. So we get a bad L, poisons on the enemy, we get poisons on us from GURPS. Both of those boost damage. We've got increased attack on our big boy here. And let's start with the A1, which can't get the extra turn right now, but we should get a full AoE smack. Let's have a look. A whack for 300k. Damn, that's actually massive on an A1 AoE. That's actually huge. I'm going to check in a second what that looks like compared to Cupidus, who's known for being the big boy AoE A1 champ. So we're going to try that out in a second. Let's just get this going again. For the A2, yeah, let's pick on Tyrell here. He's a defense-based dude. A2 going in. Slap, 260. Would have been a double hit, 520. Pretty juicy. And then let's try the A3 as well. Again, don't forget, he would be placing weakened. So you'd only need a drop defense champ. But obviously I've got Lydia in here just for consistency. So A3 coming in. Let's slow this down. Whop. It would be like a double 270k. So like a 540k smack on the A3 as well. Let's just see what that looks like against really tough enemies. Is he able to actually do some damage here? Let's just roll this through. Again, this is not a team that I would use in this content either. It's just really to see what sort of damage he puts out. He does clear the wave on hard 10, which is actually kind of difficult to do, honestly. So, firstly, it shows that there's a lot of power creep in the game, yes, because like we see here, without all of the other stuff going off, he's not doing as much, but definitely interesting. Is he going to get another turn? He's very slow in this build, so he might not get another turn. But if he does, I'm interested to see if he absolutely KOs the whole group. Damn, he hits hard, that's for sure. He's definitely putting in the work in terms of damage. I wonder if he might just die before we get a chance here, but I'm interested to see. See, he got his A1 counter-attack off there as well. I'm interested to see if he does decent damage with this A2. Bang, bang, like 400k a smack. Again, it's actually pretty damn solid damage. So sometimes we get damage dealers where they're very one-dimensional, right? And it's all they do is they put in damage. Sometimes we get fun champions that do a bit more as well. This guy can do a bit more because he's got weaken. He's got some fun boss mechanics where he puts in a bit more work. And yeah, I think he's up there, honestly, for me, like an Alice type of damage dealer in terms of I'm bringing something else to the table and I'm hitting hard. So I think that is really interesting. And obviously, 1.3 mil on the A2 there. And on hard 10, honestly, slaying this dragon really, really effectively. So, wow, that was actually way better than I thought it was going to be. Okay, let's just change him up, but not too much. All I really want to do is make him fast, or faster, because right now this is not a build that we could really use in any content, because he's just too damn slow. No one can be running at 179 speed nowadays and be effective. So let's see if I can keep him crit capped whilst gaining a chunk of extra speed. This one looks good. I've got him relatively squishy right now, though, so 224 speed feels better. He's quite squishy, right? And that's a problem, albeit he starts to reduce the enemy's damage and stuff. But with a 914 base defense, yeah, we'll see how well we do at staying alive. I'm interested to run him just in Nightmare Campaign. So we would normally want to farm 12-6. 12-6 affinities. So I'd normally use my Fortis here. He's a defense-based dude, so he doesn't really have any problems. Let's just see if this guy can run a 12-6 Nightmare in this type of build. I mean, he absolutely pulverizes the wave. Wow, that's actually mad. So the affinity issue is something you've got to watch out for, but there's only one of the bad affinities in each wave. 15 seconds. 12-6 Nightmare, 15 seconds. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. Again, I would change out the blessing if that's where I was going to keep him, but okay, that's pretty damn solid. Let's take a look at a Hydra battle. So I was kind of wondering what to test him against. I've got this team here with He-Man in, and He-Man is known for being a good Hydra champ, a very strong damage dealer. I'll check that he's not naked in a sec. Another one I could check out is Iasu, take him out in this kind of like Teox team. But I think I'm going to do this one. Let me just double check that I haven't nicked a load of stuff from He-Man. He-Man's still built. He's got Merciless gear on, so that works. Let's just do a quick battle here and see what sort of damage output we're on. Just trying on hard so that we don't have any failed runs or anything like that, so it's easier to test. In fact, we only got to level 830 there. Let's just discard, try another quick battle. I normally go to 1,000, but it could be that other people have lost gear. Try one more. Okay, that one's done all the way, and it's like 256 mil. And He-Man's doing 134 million damage in that team. So let's discard here. I'm just going to switch out He-Man. Obviously, he's a 6-star blessing, which does make quite a difference, even from 5-star. We know that blessings are a huge, huge kind of like power lift on a team. I guess I'm just going to let him roll. I think his AI is pretty sensible for... He's just purely putting out damage, which is quite interesting in this team as well. So my Gizmak has got drop defense on his second kit. So he's got drop defense here. Earstrid, so I've got drop speed and stuff. Just remembering if I've got... I don't think I've got a weaken in this team. So he actually slots into this team particularly well because he's bringing a skill that nobody else is bringing, which is quite cool, actually. So let's just do the last quick battle here. Hopefully Wish I had more quick battles in case this fails, which it might. We've seen the other ones fail consistently, but no, it's done all the way, and it's a bit less damage than my He-Man. So he's doing 95 mil, but still solid damage, right? So I think for anyone who's going to be running him, you know, if you're progressing through Hydra and you're looking for that damage dealer for your team, then he's definitely going to be able to come in and do some work. Again, Merciless might have been a better option than Slayer. I've done Slayer just because it's so unusual I could put Slayer out on someone. I thought it'd be quite fun to do, but it might not be the best in class. Cool thing if you've got ally attackers like this, he's going to be coming in with that A1 and should have a chance to get that weaken out there. So you see weaken's gone on 3 of the enemy heads. I wonder if you've got the 4th, if he cuts in and has a turn. I doubt. Maybe I can just try and do that. Again, the chances of you getting all 4 when you've got affinities in play as well is unlikely. So it might be a few runs before we can try it. But let me just see if we can get weaken on 4. No, on 2 that time. See that? So this is what I mean around when there's really more than one target, the chance of him getting weaken is pretty low. So we did get weaken everywhere, and he does not cut in. Okay. It's worth testing, right? It would have been awesome if he does, but no, he doesn't cut in on an ally attack. I expected it. He also will not then cut in on a counter attack or anything like that. But yeah, definitely interesting. So he's going to be bringing you AoE weaken. He's going to be bringing you damage, and he's going to be boosting his own damage over time. So definitely for longer fights like this, there's an element to say pretty damn solid. And he's going to be putting out high levels of damage over time. Self-buffing as well, so you don't necessarily need someone in your team that's going to buff him. He's your main damage dealer, which is always tricky to get. So yeah, I think in Hydra, he's going to be pretty solid. I don't think he's top tier, though. I think there's other people that, as we've seen, can easily do higher damage than him. But, you know, AoE weaken plus a decent damage output for your team is going to be an option for those who have not yet got a number of options. And he might come into, rather than your first team or your second team, it might be your third team damage dealer, but still useful to have that over time in something like Hydra. As I say, in something like Clan Boss, certainly if you're making your way through the game, reducing the attack of the Clan Boss is going to give you a longer run, which means that if you're just trying to like get into Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare, I think he comes in as a really solid option for a damage dealer and a weakened champion, especially if you can find other ways to keep your team alive. He's going to do good damage, and he's going to prevent the rest of your team from going down. That's kind of the same in Chimera, but as the forms change, it resets. So the damage reduction doesn't carry through all of the different levels of Chimera. So maybe let's throw him into the squad. So at the moment, I've got 2 damage dealers in this team, which would be Harima and Newt. Affinity is good for us, so let's take Newt out and let's throw him in. So he's going to give us our weaken. He's going to be self-buffing, which is actually pretty good in this team. And obviously when we get stuff like ally attacks going in, like this one, so this would give us increased attack, which is cool, but also we're going to get a weaken out there from an ally attack. Let's say extra. Do you see that? Did proc extra turn on him, but he doesn't take an extra turn. Or has he cut in? Hold on a minute. Did he cut in there or not? I did see an extra turn pop on him, which is weird. So is he due to go next? No. And that time he didn't. So damn, maybe he does actually get... Maybe he does go ahead of everyone else. Maybe I was wrong on Hydra there. We get the weaken away. We get extra turn. He does. Actually, he cuts in. Damn. Okay, I was wrong on Hydra. He does cut in and go if he lands his weaken, which means that he's going to get... If you bring someone like a Mikage or any of the good ally attackers, he's going to get more turns away. It still does use his turn meter though, right? So it's not like all he's going to do is fill whatever's left of his turn meter, but that's still really, really beneficial. So over time, we're reducing the attack of the forms when we use our A2 by a touch, which is going to help. We're increasing his attack, and basically he's going to be a solid damage dealer. But again, yeah, if I'm honest here, even with wrong affinity, if I compared him to someone like a Newt doing enemy max HP, you know, he doesn't offer nearly as much. Let's put it that way. He doesn't offer much in terms of trials. He's just a straight out and out going to be a good damage dealer, hitting for good levels here. I've got no decreased defense in this team, so actually it's going to massively affect our damage output, especially with him in Slayer gear, because we're not needing the AoE, so it would be better off just being in straight lethal or savage or something like that here. But over time, we are going to stack up Nature's Wrath. We're going to stack up his ability to output more damage himself. And I think, yeah, he will end up being, again, a solid choice, but not like a top tier choice for something like Chimera. So where I think he becomes probably pretty top tier is any wave-based content that you're trying to beat up. So faction wars, anything like this, where it's like hard faction wars or normal faction wars, working your way through. Like if we was to go into the dwarf, he's not going to do any trial stuff for you other than hit stuff hard. You know, if you were like just trying to beat up waves in normal faction wars, for example. So I don't know what this team is. I'm not sure what the team is, but yeah, he's bringing your aura. He's bringing some damage. I think this is probably a team I use for one of the hard modes. And he's just going to be able to blow stuff up pretty damn easily if you don't have anyone that does that right now. And when you do get to, look at that, it just clears the wave, no problem. When you do get to the hard stuff, obviously, again, he's just going to be a great wave clearer for you. You might even, when you get to like Sintranos waves that he's in or hard faction wars, you might decide to just go stun set on him and really make use of the fact that he's doing so many AoEs and just get extra crowd control in your team. Because for hard, crowd control is really where it's at to be able to get through a lot of the different levels. And then obviously against the boss, he's got inbuilt additional survivability. Obviously, I crush through normal faction wars anyway, but yeah, coming in with good levels of damage, some good survivability, and yeah, I just think he's solid. I think he's solid as an all-rounder for really anywhere where you're going to be fighting waves of enemies or trying to do damage. Let's check out, I guess, an arena team. So when we're talking PvP, I think the best way to tackle this would actually to put some stone skin on him, have probably 4-piece lethal or savage, and then 4-piece stone skin so that he can take a hit, because otherwise he's going to die. I think the most fun way you could build this guy is in a blender team. The trouble is, I'm on the test server, and damn, can I even face anyone here? Maybe this team. So I'm thinking like speed into ally attack, into him throwing out his weaken and his first AoE hit, and then someone else following up with another big AoE hit. Cupid is particularly good here because he does more damage if the target's got debuffs, and we're going to be placing a debuff before Cupidus hits in a blender team. A blender team is basically someone who's going to do an ally attack for you, and everyone else piles in with their A1 AoE hits. This used to be a great speed farming technique, but Stone Skin particularly will blow this up or stop this from happening. If anyone's got Stone Skin, we're not going to kill them. But this team is fine. So it's speed into ally attack, and then you've got, he's going to do his AoE, and then Cupidus will do his AoE. If I slow this down so you can see what's going on. We get the buffs, AoE goes in. If we did weaken everywhere, then we would guarantee the kill. We didn't, which means that Rotus is allowed to rampage. Let me just see. I'm just interested really more than anything to see if, trying that again, if we get enough damage away. Because you really want to be able to get the damage away with this style of attack. And we're not, honestly. I'm just here, like, these builds are strong, so not getting the damage away there is... I'm just wondering if he's actually better than the old school blender, which was just Skull Crown and Sinacia. But they're not built or anything. But yeah, basically, the old blenders used to be a Skull Crown would come in, and because of her ability to double hit, she would double hit here, and then Sinacia would double hit with, like a follow-up slap. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm hopeful this could be maybe a blender team as well. Again, if they've got no Stone Skin. If any Stone Skin goes on, we'd be in trouble, but it didn't. Let's just see. Again, we only got weakened on a couple, and we didn't get enough damage to kill the Rotus, so he goes berserk. But yeah, I do think, you know, something like live arena, providing you've got enough support, there's a womp. Providing you've got enough support for him, live arena, he could be decent because he self buffs. But again, there's just I'd say there's way stronger champions out there that have just got more survivability and all that type of stuff. Now that, you know, we've got these crazy combos out there, I don't know that he's going to be able to cut the mustard against those. Like, if I look at this team, I would just imagine you've probably got Stoneskin here, maybe Stoneskin here, and if that's the case, we probably just straight lose. Okay, so we've got Stoneskin here, Stoneskin here. We do go first, so we do get to use our abilities. We might be able to kill the Marius, for example. We should kill the Marius easily, but because of the Stoneskin, you know, obviously they then take over. So we would need Stoneskin on us to make that feasible. Otherwise, we're just going to get wrecked. Or we end up just going like, bam, Marius comes at us with the triple. Obviously, we then get a stun away, and she didn't land it here because he must have reflected it back at me somehow. And then because Stoneskin's gone, we get the smack. But yeah, it just depends what the team comps are up against and whether that would be the right way to play him. I definitely think he's got power in arena, so I don't think there's any question of that. It's just whether or not, you know, you've got a build that's going to make some sense. I guess the last place I want to show, so he can do any dungeon as your wave killer and would be decent, right? He's going to be able to blow up waves, as we've seen, pretty well. His debuff isn't really like top tier for any dungeon. He doesn't have multiple hits for finite, so he can be your wave killer anywhere, but he's not going to be your main way to combat the bosses anywhere. So I think in any of these dungeons he's going to be fine. He could solo Minnow. In fact, let's just have a look. Let's just throw him in there quick. I'm just curious to see how quick he'd do it, but he would do it fast and easily. AoE smack the first wave. He's done it A2 naturally, but then smack, and then onto the boss. Yeah, 9 seconds. Obviously, it'll be a tiny bit slower with someone that is running through it. But yeah, it definitely like smash Minnow with no problem. But then it's probably the easiest thing to get done in the game. But yeah, I'm curious about the event dungeon. So, you know, I said in a video yesterday, farming 25. People corrected me and said, actually, you'd probably be better off on 24, which is right, because it's cheaper. So farming 24 would be a good shout generally, because level 30, you need incredible amount more stats. And if you're farming level 20 as an earlier player, then that's going to be good as well. But on level 24, basically all of the enemies will trigger his passive ability, which is cool. So we do have to account for someone like Elix, who's going to slow me up. Let's just try something like this. So he can be our increase attack here. We're going to have block debuffs here from my Sifi. Drop defense and weaken so I can actually blow them up with him. He's going to do increase attack himself, so I don't need that. So I guess probably I would just go for crowd control before he goes. Let's just make sure that I've got enough speed going on here. She's really fast. Sifi, I'm going to make fast. Crowd control, drop defense and weaken, slam, and then a way to kill the final boss. I guess he kills the final boss as well, so probably just a way to keep me alive. Somebody like maybe it's just someone with an ally attack so that he gets more turns to cut in. So it could just be Mikado again. Okay, so something like this. I think we get block buffs on the boss so that she doesn't transform and steal our buffs. We get drop defense and weaken so that Tholin can do his damage. Stun to control Lick so that she's not going to ruin us when we put our block defense, decrease defense and weaken on. And then Sifi's just for our kind of like block buffs on us. Or block debuffs on us, sorry. So we've got block buffs out for a good duration, which is nice. The stun is good. Smacks the waves down, nearly KOs the wave, not quite, actually, so it's close. And then obviously she changes form. Actually, because we didn't take it down straight away, the block buffs has worn out, which means now we're in trouble, actually. And might mean that we get wrecked. Doing some okay damage, considering she's got increased defense on and all that. Yeah, he's going to go down. I mean, Sifi will pick him back up. And now we should be good at this point. Like, he can take a bit of a hit, but maybe I would switch him, honestly, to a defense ring, just so he can just take a little bit more of a hit. But he does do a lot of damage. Look at that. And then he follows it up pretty fast, actually, in the end. 1 minute 11, considering that was a kind of failed initial part to the run. Let's just see if we do get the full slam dunk this time. Does he have enough damage in this build? He does this time. So we get the full hit away, which means she does now have block buffs on her. So that when she tries to steal ours, she cannot. And then this should make it a decent amount quicker. And he's getting his hits away. Nice. Obviously, he's reducing her damage with his A2 a little bit. He's still kind of vulnerable, but pop, pop. Good bit of damage. He's surviving just about. Gets his extra turn. So he goes slam dunk, and then it's about a minute. So definitely good here. The fact that all of his passives and things kick in against the event dungeon is solid. I don't know if he's going to be the be all and end all. I think you can do the same job with other damage dealers on stage 24, 25, or do a team like I showed yesterday. But all in all, I think he's really solid as a fusion. One of the best fusions we've had in a while. He's basically a straight damage dealer with a little bit of utility. Extremely good in waves and decent in most content. But I'd say he's not crazy. He's not like, oh my god, look at all these enemy max HP smacks coming off like a newt, or, you know, someone that's that dramatic. But I think he's really strong. And as I'm recording, we just found out actually there's going to be a 5-star soul event coming from him real soon as well. So I don't know. There you go, guys. That is my view on Tholin. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.